Welcome to the Women Waves podcast. Today we've got Tash, Lainey, Charly and Sam. So I'll go through everyone if you want to kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves. Lainey, if you want to kind of start.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm Lainey Richardson. I'm a film director and screenwriter. I always say screenwriter like a bit more quieter. I do directing. I make my living from directing, but I'm also writing scripts as well. I'm signed to Caviar. That's doing commercials, content, music videos, and then sort of separate from that, I kind of want to write and direct like TV and film.
Yeah, amazing. That's so cool. Tash?
I'm Tash Bloom. I'm a film producer. I produce sort of Lainey's work as well. Recently we did a project, charity project, which we can talk about in a bit, for Football Beyond Borders. I work production company side sometimes and also agency side as well. And I've been doing that for around sort of 13, 14 years. Working on lots of big advertising clients from KFC, British Airways, those sort of clients, and also just doing music videos too, and also charity jobs kind of in my spare time. So yeah, like to work with brands and also do sort of passion projects as well.
Amazing. Cool, that's so cool. And Sam, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Samantha Wilson. I've just finished law school in May last year. I'm an ambassador for the Girls Network. I'm one of their most longest standing members. That's just a bit about me. I have 2 horses. I really enjoy that. It's my passion. And I'm just kind of figuring out my next steps in life at the moment, really.
That's so cool. And Charly?
Yeah, of course. I'm Charly Young, co-founder and CEO of the Girls Network. And we're a mentoring program that supports 14 to 19-year-old girls from the least advantaged communities around the country, matching them with professional women to build skills and confidence, but also open up opportunities and networks that otherwise may not have access to. It's very much about supporting girls to be ambitious for their futures and then helping them to realise those ambitions. So as Sam said, she was one of our first cohort of girls 7 years ago. And so we've just seen her grow over that period of time and do some amazing things. She spoke at we have big celebrations event, or back in sort of non-lockdown time when you could have people together in a room. And our last one in the JP Morgan offices, she spoke so passionately to the room full of girls that had just finished their year. Absolutely amazing, and inspired everybody there, the girls, the mentors, our partner organisations there. So certainly for me, it makes my life and job very worthwhile seeing young women like Samantha do so well.
And how did you find becoming an ambassador, Sam? Was that because obviously you've done it before? How was the experience of that?
So it's really nice actually, because a lot of my career path has been sort of the Girls Network has been with me sort of every step of the way, and so it's just nice to be able to tell the girls and show them it's what you put in and what you get out. And I've stayed quite committed to the network over the years, despite obviously doing my own things through uni and other bits and bobs. For example, I was a legal advisor, and then I was a street law member doing projects going into schools and talking about the law about certain topics, and we did that for all different types of children. So it was really cool. And then I just obviously stayed with the network, and it's just nice to give something back, because it means a lot to me, the Girls Network. And I'm actually really fortunate that I'm actually still in contact with my mentor. So when I actually participated, I think it was literally a 6-week program, and we were doing CV building, but at that particular time I'd already got a part-time job. So I said to my mentor, I was can we just do something a bit different? I've got CV. And she was like, so what do you want to do in the future? And I was be a lawyer and go to law school. And I just wouldn't have had the opportunities I had if it wasn't for the Girls Network. So I just feel so lucky to have met them and been in contact with them, and now just inspiring other girls just to take advantage of the network and just really throw yourself into it. So I love speaking to the girls, and I can't wait for one day when I can actually be a mentor and mentor some of the girls, which will be amazing. I just would love to do that. So
I was going to ask you, were you going to be a mentor?
Yeah, I think with a bit more experience, maybe once I get myself in the legal field a bit more established, then perhaps definitely that wouldn't be a question. I'll definitely come back and be a mentor, but just maybe a bit more experience and then come back as a mentor.
And Tash and Lainey, you've both worked with the charity recently as well, haven't you? The Football Beyond Borders. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So the charity Football Beyond Borders, they basically work with like over 1,000 school-aged children across the UK. And that's people who are from disadvantaged backgrounds, people who need support finishing school. And they put on lots of different things. It started off being kind of quite football-based, but it ended up sort of evolving into sort of mentoring and different sort of tailor-made projects to kind of help the young'uns. And basically, they kind of amped up their offerings during lockdown because a lot of the children who were, I guess, taken out of school kind of lost their support network, their systems that they kind of rely so heavily on. And so one of the projects they started to do during COVID was one called Football Beyond Bars, which was a spoken word project where the children were basically given sort of lots of different sort of like support from different kind of creatives, different spoken word artists, learning how to write, how to express themselves, how to perform. And they basically wrote poems about whatever was affecting them most at the time. And for most of the teenagers, it was either being in lockdown or kind of how they felt amidst kind of, I guess, in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, how they felt at that point, because I guess both kind of hit around the same time. And basically, they kind of had sort of a competition, and the two students who got the most votes would have their poems turned into films. And that's kind of where we came in. So the charity and the agency got in touch with Caviar, who are the production company that I'm now signed with, but wasn't signed to at the time. And we'd been in talks for a while. Yeah, we'd been in talks. Really good. and we've been in talks for a while, and a lot of my work has been sort of documentary, a lot of sort of portraiture. I work a lot with sort of I guess I like giving a voice to the voiceless. I guess I like telling stories about, I guess, marginalized communities or people who I think aren't really included in the conversation. So it was kind of a great pairing and a chance for me to kind of help these kids get their stories out. And so Tash produced it. She came on board very, very early in the project. And together we just did our best to kind of, I guess, give these children, I think it was about making these children feel seen, making them feel that their voices mattered, and making other people stop and listen to what they had to say, really.
Yeah, definitely. It's so powerful. They're both such moving pieces of film. How did you find is Abby Sims?
Yes.
How did you like find her, or was it kind of like, did you choose who would be the person?
No. So all of the teenagers wrote their pieces, and I think it was sort of peer elected. So their classmates and I think a couple of professional footballers voted on whose they thought was like the most outstanding, and both Yasin and Abby kind of won. So that was how that pairing kind of occurred, basically. And I just had I got connected with them quite early, and I'd have sort of like chats a bit like this over Zoom or Google Hangout, and kind of got to know them.
It was a tough one as well. Like when you read their words, like they're both very different pieces. But when you read their words, it's a hard one to kind of make something around something so personal. And also you're constantly worried about what their expectations are and how you're misinterpreting things and how happy they're going to be on such a level that you probably wouldn't be if it was, like a music video or a commercial. Not in the same way, definitely. We're constantly aware that it's a time for these children where they need to be heard and they need to feel like they have some sort of voice in the world and some sort of control over what's going on. And that's like the most positive thing for them. So we're just very, very aware of, what their expectations are, making it a really, really good experience for them. Yeah. So, that we also had to consider, like how comfortable they're going to be, and surrounding them with people that are going to be friendly and nice to them, and like, just really, really supportive. It wasn't just kind of getting their message out, it was also just making them feel happy and empowered and, positive from the whole thing, so that they could go on to do great things and take it as a really good experience.
Yeah, just kind of adding to that, I guess kind of what you guys were saying earlier about this idea of mentoring. I think Tash and I had quite a lot of conversations about, like she said, about what the experience would be like for them, like being on set, what would it be like for them to see people like themselves on set, people from the same sort of backgrounds to them on set. And yeah, it was just really, really important that it wasn't just about that moment, it was about how this moment could impact their future as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You're like a power team.
Even
more.
we try.
Well, I mean, we've been friends since we were probably younger than those young adults were as well.
Yeah,
so
really, I was going to ask, how did you both like get into working with each other? How did it kind of start?
We went to secondary school together. And I think we sat together in like Latin or something, or maybe a couple of other subjects as well.
I did Latin.
So when we were like 13 or 14, we became friends, and I do think it's quite funny because when we were in sixth, we obviously started from secondary school together, and then we were in sixth form together. We both did media studies, and we did a few projects. We did like a couple of we did like a film trailer. We did like an advertising campaign when we were like 16, 17. And I did at the time, because I already wanted to be a filmmaker at that point, I did at the time wonder if in the future, way off yonder, if we would work together again. And it just so happens that, by coincidence, Tash has gone down the producing route and I went down the directing route. So it just seemed like a perfect kind of marriage.
It's a great team.
Yeah, because we know each other, we get each other, we kind of, we've been friends for so long now that we can just say what we're thinking, and we can thrash things out. And Tash is a creative producer, so it's great for me to be able to kind of have those creative discussions with someone as well. So yeah, it just kind of works. And I think Tash is great at kind of pushing me to do the best that I can, which is, exactly what I want, basically. So I think, we have a very, very common goal, I think, when we're making stuff. So I think I think that's probably the thing that I think makes it very, a very fruitful dynamic, is the fact that I think we have a common goal, and we both have this need to kind of help people or do something positive, in the world. And I think that's a really kind of unifying, nice thing, basically.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I think it's like also like we can, because we've known each other for so long, we can be so honest with each other, because we know, as that lady said, because there is that common goal. We all know that we're fighting for the same thing. So it's a really lovely way of working, and just having that shorthand. But I think having known each other for that long, and having been the age that these kids were when we were friends, I think there was a certain kind of exploration on our part of how you do feel when you're that age, and what you might feel being surrounded by a crew, or all the things that, I don't know. I think we definitely were thinking very much from their perspective, and I think that was also helped by the fact that we've been friends since we've been that long, since we've been that age, rather.
Yeah, that will definitely help. Like you said, you can just be completely honest with each other, and
totally. Bit too honest sometimes. It's all for the good.
Yeah, bit too honest sometimes. Definitely, definitely agree.
all for the good of the project, though. So yeah.
Samantha, do you reckon you're gonna keep in touch with your mentor and have a similar relationship in which you'll like help each other throughout?
Yeah. So obviously it's a bit different, because you guys have a different goal where you're working towards, whereas she wants to help me, but my goal is not equally, well, not in a bad way, but although she learns off me, we have different goals, and especially now, and because she's no longer actually in the network, she doesn't have to help me anymore, she's not actually a part of the program, so years later we're still helping each other. So I actually suppose we do help each other in a way, looking at it, but I think I do have different goals to her, because she's an investment banker and I want to be a lawyer, and so we do have different goals and we want different things out of each other, but maybe that works for our relationship, right? So we might not have common goals, but we've got goals that help each other, right? So I think that's the way we would see it. Whereas Lainey and Natasha work together, like synonymously, to work for the same thing. Whereas sort of me and my mentor have different goals, but helping each other in a way. Would that be a good way to look at it, Charlie?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, Sam, talking to a lot of the mentors, Tammy and others throughout the period of time, they all say how much they get from that mentoring relationship and how much they learn from it. And I think that's kind of true. When you have that, if you're giving someone advice, right, it's very hard to not then reflect that back on yourself
100%.
and think, oh, actually, I'm telling you to, be confident, to address your imposter syndrome, or to, not listen to the negative voices in your head, but do it anyway. And understand that, even if it goes wrong, you can learn all these sorts of things. You suddenly start listening to them yourself. We've got lots of mentors that have, then gone on and maybe changed job or gone for a promotion that they'd been too nervous to before.
Oh, that's
pursued a passion project outside of work. So, I think it's really powerful for mentors as well. So I think, Sam, absolutely. I'm 100% certain that, you and Tammy are in touch because you've got a great friendship, I think, over this period of time as well. But also I'm certain that she will get a lot out of that as well.
100%, yeah. So though the goals might not be the same, we do definitely have each other's goals in mind, but just working for different things. And
you sometimes learn different things, don't you, with someone that's got a different goal and a different perspective on life that can actually help you see yours through a different lens.
100%.
Definitely, it's all about like having someone there, even if what you're doing is different, but you're just able to have that support. And that's why, like, the idea of this podcast as well is like, everyone might be into different things, but as women, I think everyone is just so much more powerful when we work together and help each other. And it's just, it's great to see.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
And there will always be crossover in some of our experiences and some of the things we feel. Whether it's funny, like a kind of this might feel like the most relevant analogy in the world. I won't say that until I've actually said it, but it's kind of like, when you're at school and you're friends with the people that like the same things as you, and then as you get older, you become closer to the people who, at their core, are very much like you and have the same principles and can share those with you. And maybe it's with a mentoring relationship, it might not necessarily be that you're doing the same job, but maybe you have the same sort of values or concerns, and then you can connect with someone on such a deep level, and then that elevates you in whatever you're doing. So I think that kind of works.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, I think the beauty of the women we attract to mentor for us is that they are very much committed to the idea of women supporting women and removing barriers and lifting each other up. So I think there's always that shared value and passion in the network anyway.
We're going to create a movie together, and we want a director, we want a producer, we want cast members, crew members, and we are going to create a 6-part series, and it will be a drama. I haven't decided on which streaming service it will go on because we live on streaming services now. But we can discuss and we'll go from there. Any ideas so far?
Wait, was it a 6-part like drama or comedy? Did we say what genre it was? Drama. Okay. It's a bit of a curveball, but maybe I could direct it. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Interesting choice.
100%.
I think you should.
But just putting it on the table.
Okay.
Is there 25 million involved?
But if we gave you all the money that you could wish for in the world, so 25 million, then let's what would you create drama wise? What would the story be? Who would be in it?
Ooh, tough one.
It's a tough one. Drama series. I want to try and move it from anything that I'm actually currently thinking about. I want to do a fresh idea, a completely fresh idea. Spot drama series. I don't know, do you have any initial thoughts, Tasha?
I've just finished binge watching Industry, so like literally every idea that I have is industry right now, which is kind of like what we're saying about women in the workplace. All I keep thinking about is like work culture and the drama involved there. but I don't know. I mean, gosh, that's a tough one.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard because I'm writing something right now that's a series, so that's probably the thing that I would want to do. But I feel like there's always going to be a leaning towards like the underdog or a strong sort of female viewpoint. I feel like there's a lot of voices that just haven't really, or perspectives that haven't really been shown. I think there could just be a cast of just real badass and a mixture of, obviously all sort of gender identities and expressions, but I'd love something that felt a bit more from the kind of woman perspective.
We're a bit 2D at the moment in on TV.
Definitely.
Yeah, and something that's really badass.
Yeah, oh my god, I was literally thinking of the word badass when you just said that. But I like something where women are not just governed by maybe the protagonist is not just governed by her emotions. Maybe she is, she is conflicted in a sort of workplace that she is a high flyer, and maybe she's completely also off the rails. You never see women like losing it like big time on TV.
No.
So have you seen the trailer for the new? That just reminded me. I saw a trailer for Margot. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Oh no! Actually, it's a different one. Go for it.
Margot Robbie's production company.
It's the one. It's the same one. Starring Carey Mulligan.
Yes, Promising Young Woman.
Yeah.
So that, honestly, the trailer for that looks incredible, and she's like this badass woman. That's exactly what you describe her as, where she gets her own back. So she goes out and she pretends to be too drunk in a bar, and waits for a man to like come and take advantage of her, and is like, "Oh, I'll take you home, I'll look after you," and then gets him home. So she's pretending to be drunk, gets him home, and then suddenly she I don't know what happens. But I guess she like attacks him.
The trailer implies that she might be killing them. The idea is capturing these sexual predators essentially, and she goes on a rampage.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Love it.
And she does look really badass.
Oh wow! I think we're going to see more of that. Yeah, I think we're going to have to see more of that, a little bit, females' personalities being like a little bit less 2D, like us being a bit more kind of like, especially seeing as like people are becoming a lot more sort of woke when it comes to mental awareness and mental health and stuff like that. And so also with all the pressures that you can have on you as a woman and all the conflicts that there are, whether it's, with work and your home life and all of those things, like it potentially, because there's so many things in your life that pull you so many different ways, there is potentially quite a good drama within that,
Definitely.
It definitely sets up a very interesting protagonist.
Yeah, and I feel like personally, I watch programming from all over the world, but I personally feel this real strong craving, or almost like there's something that's not being fulfilled in me, is this idea of I just don't think there's enough really good British shows out there. I don't think there's enough shows that really hold space for British talent. I think there's so many British actors and actresses who just are kind of wasting away a little bit. And I think it'd be great because I think we've got so much talent here, so much talent in terms of like music, in terms of acting, just like across the arts. And I just don't know if the landscape here is really servicing that at the moment. So something that was quite grassroots would be quite cool as well, I think.
Totally. Although I did love I May Destroy You. That was incredible.
And that's my point, but that's it's amazing, but it's like one out of like how many?
It stands out. When there are sort of Brit-centric voices, it 100% stands out.
And it just goes to show what else could be out there. If we've got Michaela Cole, what else could be? Yeah, what else are we not sort of hearing and seeing?
Yeah, definitely.
And when we do make great dramas like I May Destroy You, it really does stand up against the American stuff.
Yeah,
Sure.
it does. We were saying the other week about Phoebe Waller-Bridge and how they were saying that she's now like a feminist because of what she's done through Fleabag, but in actual fact, she's just showing what a female is and like the 3D version of a female. So we need some more of it. So if you gals are writing, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out off the page.
So am I. I'm like, me too. We need more. And I feel like people like Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Michaela Cole, they're kind of even Lena Dunham's people across the pond are sort of trailblazing, and I think it really is empowering people like myself. It's really inspiring people like me to be like, oh, there is a space for a different perspective. I might have something to say that people want to listen to, and I think when we have more of that, we can have so many more interesting stories, and I think that's what we need. We need like a spectrum of stories.
Definitely. I think it's as well because so many people, like, they're not used to that. That's why we feel like no one wants to watch that type of stuff. And then as soon as something like I May Destroy You comes out and everyone's raving about it, and it's like, if more things like that were being made, then more people would start to realise this is actually what we want to watch. We're just trained to think we want to watch the kind of, the stuff that doesn't have as deep of messages.
Yeah. And the same regurgitated stuff as well. Like, actually, we do want fresh, exciting, new ideas.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I think that sort of leads on to why it's kind of important for people of all backgrounds and all, all sort of underrepresented genders to sort of, come out and make the stuff as well. I think we're put off just by what we see because we think that's the important voice. But actually, those people who have those experiences are so unheard by other people that, you are the expert in your own experience, and you could go out there and show people what your experience is, and you could show a new voice that no one's ever heard of and create something fresh and new, and change things. It's quite exciting. I think that we're now, it's with culture and media being the way it is, and those sort of programs being so highly regarded. I think it is so exciting that we're open to hearing those voices much more than I think we've ever been before.
Yeah.
And I say that coming, growing up in the 90s, like all TV when I was a kid was, it was all sort of, it was all very, well, it was very American. We were obsessed with America for a start. Like everything was about America. Everything was about the white experience. Everything was very middle class. And you never saw people who are who were from Asian families. I still think there's still definitely some way to go with Asian people, especially in particular. But socioeconomic backgrounds, black families, like that. Just you'd only see sort of white middle class families, and so hopefully now it's really really paved the way for more experiences to be shown on screen, and I think it's really really exciting.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time.
Yeah. I didn't answer the question at all, but I would, in terms of our imaginary film. But I would say that I would love to. Somebody who I'd love to see more of is Zawe Ashton. I think British actress. I just don't think she is. I think she's remarkable, and I just don't think she's being given a meaty enough role yet. So I'd love to be the person to do that. I think she's definitely a leading actress, and I just don't think she's getting that yet. So maybe she'd be in the series because she's quite badass as well. So Zawe.
Well, if you're listening, we'll add her, we'll link her to this podcast so that you can work together. So we've got a badass drama 6-part series. We've got, how much money are we spending on this 6-part series?
However much you're going to give us, whoever's giving money, all of it.
Tash is the money.
Yeah, 25 million per episode. A minimum. That's how much Lainey just needs to walk on set.
And it's going to be shot in multiple countries, of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course. Especially during, now we're in lockdown. Once we get out, we are going everywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's just going to film everywhere just so they can, it's for the script. It's for the script.
For the script. Every single scene is going to be in a different country. It just needs to be that way,
Yeah. Samantha, who would you want in the series?
So I'm just thinking of when Lainey's speaking about and Tash is speaking about this badass woman. All I'm thinking in my head is of that series Killing Eve.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
In my head,
that's amazing. Series.
She's quite badass, isn't she? Like a detective, and she just doesn't stop, does she? And then I'm also thinking of a bit like when I've got my lawyer head. I'm thinking a bit like Angela Valdez from Power, and then I'm just thinking a little bit of Suits as well, and like and then I'm thinking about like Top Boy, and maybe like changing the cast around in Top Boy and making that all women, running that instead of all the boys. So I'm just thinking of like the things that Lainey has said, and just thinking of these ideas, if the roles were reversed, perhaps like in the Top Boy, and seeing women run things instead of the men, how would that be, right?
That would be sick.
That'd be amazing. I think this badass lady could definitely be a lawyer, and I think she could be incredibly complex. This woman,
that's what I.
There's so much conflict in law, and I can see, you could see a really good drama unfolding.
Yeah, I think so.
People being deeply competitive.
Have you seen How to Get Away with Murder?
I have. I've watched like how many seasons? Is there like 5 seasons? Or I've seen like a few seasons. Yes.
Yeah, there's quite a few seasons, and if you haven't seen it, it's Viola Davis is a teacher, but she's teaching law.
Oh, I love her.
And it's so good. Yeah. She's amazing. Have you seen Ma Rooney's Black Bottom?
No, not yet. I've got to watch that one. No. Yeah. Did you like it?
It was brilliant. Wow. She said she commented and she was like, it's probably the sexiest I've ever felt as a woman, because she just plays this woman who just doesn't take shit. She just says what she says and does what she wants, and it's incredible. Wow. Viola Davis is.
Oh, I have to watch it.
She's up there.
She really watched it. I watched Widows. The Steve McQueen film. Yeah. With her, she was absolutely phenomenal in that. I just think she's such a powerhouse. And she's so like the nuances in how she performs. She's so cool. She would be good in your law drama, Samantha.
Yeah, definitely.
I can imagine her as like this badass lawyer who leads a double life.
But that's too close to How I Get Away with Murder, though. She can't. I don't think she can be in it as the lawyer.
Do you think I've got copyright issues, Lainey?
Yeah.
Oh no! This is a bad start.
But that's what the 25 mil is for.
Yes,
pay the lawyer.
Yeah, I need a lawyer to protect my lawyer script.
Yeah.
And that's where you come in, Sam. There we go.
Yeah, amazing.
Yes.
Very good.
I also like Daniel Kaluuya as an actor. I think
he's phenomenal.
He's just got so much screen presence. Like as soon as he comes on the screen, you're just hooked to him.
Incredible.
Yeah, incredible. Hit the nail on the head. It's his stage presence. It's just like palpable. It's like whoa. So he's amazing.
We went to see Queen and Slim like 3 times in the cinema.
Really?
It was just so good.
Yeah.
I think it's just come out actually on Netflix, or maybe it's Prime, but it's out.
Prime. Yeah.
Female director, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Melina Matsoukas.
Yes, Lena Waithe. Yeah, Lena Waithe. Yeah. And no, it was Melina Matsoukas.
Yeah, Melina Matsoukas.
Yeah, and in a way wrote it,
We're going to say we love Daniel Kaluuya as well, because he grew up in Kentish Town, which is right near us. He went to Torrey School, which is a state school that's literally around the corner from where Lainey lived.
Did you grow up there in North London?
Yeah. Sort of Camden, went to Camden School for Girls. So yeah, Camden, Kentish Town, Chalk Farm, North. Yeah, so we haven't moved very far, we're just a little further now. So, yeah.
How did you first get into directing? Like, I know you said you and Tash, when you were at school, you used to kind of make little films and trailers and stuff, but like, what's your journey? Like, did you overcome any struggles? Like, how did you first get into it?
Long answer or short answer?
Any answer you want.
Okay, so I'd say when I was like 13, 14, I had my sort of eureka moment of like, I want to be a film director. And I can be quite, evidently the fact that I'm still doing it shows that I can be quite obsessive over something I really, really want. And I think I was 14 or 15 that I went and got my first placement by myself in a production company. And I worked at Bullet Films, and they had a director called Max and Danya who did all the So Solid crew music videos. So I was just like, oh my God, they're so cool.
Amazing.
So I did a few placements while I was still sort of like at school, and then I took a few years out after sixth form, worked in a clothes shop in Camden in Stables Market, and then while I was there I still did loads of running and work experience placements and internships, all unpaid. Often would get asked to sort of stay on to do more, but still was unpaid. And I did that for a few years and wasn't really getting anywhere. I found that I felt, to be honest, I felt very, very invisible. I was there and people would sort of utilize me, but I didn't feel that I was sort of being, retrospectively, I can see I wasn't really being supported in any way or encouraged in any way. And I think at one point, the one time I did have a useful conversation was I spoke to the MD of Flim Productions after I'd been running there for a while. And she just, for the first time, I'd seen her like this sort of like power woman, and she had a little pug and she'd always walk through, but I'd never spoken to her the whole time I was there. And then one day she just came up to me and just like, just tell me your story. Like, who are you? What are you about? Why are you here? What do you want? And it was like a really cool moment where somebody, just sort of stopped and sort of asked me. And I said that I wanted to sort of, be a director and I didn't know what to do and yada, yada, yada. And she was like, well, most of our directors here who were successful went to art school and they studied photography. And literally that was the only advice I was given. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to art school and I'm going to study photography. And I literally did that. And kind of came out, which coincided with the crash. So I couldn't find any work. Started working in film festivals. For me, I'd always been like, when I had that eureka moment, I'd been like, I either want to be able to make films. If I can't make films, I'd love to find a job where I'd get paid to watch films. And at the point, I didn't know what that job was, but I was like, if it exists, I'll find it. And I think film festivals for me was the whole, I ended up programming, so watching films, and that was like the second choice career. But I just found that while doing that, helping other filmmakers to get their films made, I just felt a bit like creatively stunted myself. And I was just like, no, I have to actually do this now. And I think at that point, I quit, took a minimum wage job at a cinema and started making films. And would make a film like once every couple of years, always self-funded, always with the help of my friends and favors, and always had a full-time career kind of at the same time as sort of making films. And that's kind of how I've kind of done it.
Amazing. And I saw that you do quite a lot of like your own filming work as well, don't you? So a lot of the cinematography and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Did you learn how to do that so that you could make your own film?
Exactly. I think I've had to learn how to do so many different things, whether it's doing the sound, whether it's doing the cinematography, whether it's doing the PR and trying to get the film out, distribution. I've just had to sort of do that because you don't have any money or any resources, and it's just the only way you kind of can if you don't have the support. So in a weird way, at the time, I think I did it quite, not begrudgingly, but you feel like you would love when you're applying for grants to actually get the grants or to get the support, and so you do it a little bit begrudgingly. But then I feel like now, looking back, it's all of that extra work that I had to do that means that I can do the job that I do now. So it's weird, I don't realize at the time, but everything I've been through, every job I've done, every struggle I've had, every crap job I've done, they've all taught me what I need to know to be able to do what I'm doing now. So
how did you know like when to take the jump? Because that's a huge jump to take when you feel like you're in a position that has directors and all these people you can work with. How did you know when it was right?
I think it's in your gut, isn't it? I think especially if you're someone like me where you know what you want to be doing, you know what you feel, to the point, and it sounds quite extreme, but you feel like you're born to do this. And obviously life's bigger than that, but you feel like you're born to do it. And I think in your gut, you kind of feel like you're betraying yourself to a degree. And I think when it gets to a point that it feels overwhelming, that can be enough of a kind of impetus to change. And I think, I had people around me who coincidentally, I've got friends who are filmmakers and writers, and they were always just like saying, just make it. And I think there's fear plays a big role in when it comes to being a creative and being like, but I can't make it. I don't know how to make it. I don't have any equipment. What do you mean just make it? What does that mean? And that's what I'd always say, what does that mean? And then one day you're like, actually, I'm just going to make it. And you just sort of do. Yeah. And the thing is, even when you do, you think things are going to happen now. The world's going to open up. You're going to have opportunities now. And actually, I found that didn't happen. And every time everyone's like, this is your big break, it's going to happen. It never happened. So you kind of just have to have that tenacity and the drive to keep going and just believe that one day it's going to come to fruition. And I you know, for me, I feel like the stars only aligned for me last year, and I'm 36. But and there have been many times where I've wanted to quit, or I even have quit, and something's just brought me back again. So I think realize as early as you can that, like, for me, I know that this is like a lifelong thing, and I think the sooner you can admit that to yourself, the more ready you will be to kind of take that step earlier on.
I feel like fear, like what you're saying, Lainey, fear is a massive part of things. It's funny because the further you get on into actually doing the career that you're doing, the more you look back and you go, oh, actually it was that easy. And all of those films where I did make them by myself and I was very hands-on, that experience is totally valuable, because whether you have a budget or not, you're still doing the same thing. It actually helps you even more to be making stuff with your, like, doing it a bit DIY, because you have more of an understanding of the inner workings of production. And I think one of the things I really love about working with Lainey is that, like, you know, it's still like us in my car looking for locations. You know, we're still discussing, you know, we're still very much sort of doing stuff very DIY. And, you know, sometimes that's the nature of the job when you're doing things for charity. It doesn't mean that the output's going to be any less amazing. You just work with what you have. And then when you do these projects like that, and, you know, I'm coming at it now with a lot of years of experience in production, but following the methodology that I would have followed when I was, you know, 18 years old. Like, when you look at it that way, you're like, gosh, anyone could just sort of go out there and make films. You know, you can make it on a phone nowadays. There's absolutely no excuse. It's just all within you and your self-belief. But just, you know, the aesthetic sort of treatment of it and how slick it looks at the end, you know, that's there's movies, but there's also a real merit to having something where you embrace what your barriers are and actually make something of it. So there's no excuse to not do it. It's just, it's all in you and your belief in yourself.
And I'd add to that as well about you saying about taking the leap. I'd say that though at that point I took that leap in that space to make that particular film, there were other points where I've held down a full-time job and had to, in my evenings or when I'd be sleeping, make a film and just didn't sleep or whatever. So I think you don't have to take a leap as in throw caution to the wind, because actually often we can't afford to do that. And I think it's just about looking at your situation and looking at what you can do. And I've had to, like most people, had to sort of constantly shift and resculpt my life to make a film and try it this way. And like, that's actually too much of an exhausting lifestyle. Let me try this. And that doesn't quite work, but I get a step further and I try this. And I think that kind of is life, isn't it? You're constantly sort of trying different things out and seeing what works and experimenting, and you pick up information along the way and you learn stuff. So I think taking that leap doesn't have to always be a, you know, quit my job and move back home or whatever. You can just
so I guess that's where a lot of the fear comes from, right? So it's the thinking you have to do it all immediately, and you go from where you are now to the complete finished product. And actually, just by doing the one next step from where I am now, what one step can I take towards it? And that's far less daunting. And then you start to realize those things like, oh, actually, I can do this. And it's sort of problem solving on a small scale. What's the next step? How on earth am I going to make that happen? And suddenly you look back and you've taken a huge leap. But, you know, had you just thought about that end point from the beginning, it probably would have been paralyzing, because how on earth do you traverse that space otherwise?
That's literally my philosophy with how I work even now. I only ever look one step ahead of me and take one step. But
this is also, I guess, where mentors do come in handy as well, is because they can assure you about that, but then they could also, you know, share their experience, and you kind of have the benefit of their experience as well as your own. It's also a kind of like, I think there's a really healthy thing about having mentors and people around you doing what you do also, because then you can kind of go, well, if they can do it, why can't I? As long as you're not putting so much pressure on yourself, and you're very much still very much centered around what you and your abilities are and what you can do within your means. And not beating yourself up over it, because that then can start to have a negative impact. But, you know, if you concentrate on yourself, take one step at a time, also just benefit from the people that are going to be positive around you and understand you and like give you the advice that is relevant for you, then, you know, you've got so much that could build you up and help you achieve what you want to.
Definitely. And Tash, how have you found the difference between working on, because obviously you're a producer, but you do loads of different things. So do you find like you've got more than one job when you're doing, for example, advertising compared to like a charity film or a short film, or, you know, because you're going from one budget extreme to the other. So how do you find balancing the difference of like each project, and like what's your process?
Ooh. I think with everything, with production, it's you have to sort of split yourself into. You have to be very, very methodical with everything and break everything down and work out what is worrying you the most. Always when you see a script, whether you've got a big budget or whether you've got a small budget, whether it's a charity or whether it's a big brand or whether it's a short film, there's always going to be something in it that scares you. So what I do is I break it down and work out what the things are that scare me and why they scare me, and what I can do to get help with them or try and get them for free, or all these things. What I'd say is always with everything, just break it down and try to be super methodical. And then afterwards you can kind of come back to the more sort of creative side of things and just work out, right, how do I make this better? But you have to start by what you can physically do. And you know, with charity films, it is incredibly difficult at times because you're constantly, there is an emotional awareness of how you are spending money, and you have to be literally begging people to help you, but you also have the confidence that, you know, it's a charity and it's very important and people need to be, you know, supporting these charities at the moment. So I think whatever the size budget, whatever it is, whatever the project, definitely just break it down and try and make it into something that you feel like you can do. Because there's always a way to do everything. The thing about production is everything is actually doable. Like there's actually nothing, there's no script that you could, unless you had some mad CGI thing. But even with a mad CGI script, you could probably make some plasticine models. It won't be that good, but you know, you could make a film. You could make a film, or there might be someone who's out there who's an artist that does kind of stop frame stuff that you've seen on YouTube. You know, it might be a different treatment, and then can you embrace that? So that is the mad thing. Everything is just possible, but it's about breaking it down, working within your means, working out how you can creatively work within your means as well, and really embracing it. And that's where you get things like, I mean, I always think about Blair Witch Project. It's a genius film on so many levels because they had no money, and they're like, well, maybe the thing that's scary is the fact that you just don't see it, and that would be the expensive thing, is the thing that you see. So why don't we do that? And we've only got this crappy camcorder. Like, why don't we just shoot it with that? And it makes it feel like it's something that has been found, and all of a sudden it's even scarier. So it was made better by the fact they had no money. That's so don't ever just feel, I can't do it. Actually, what your process of breaking it down might even make it better than what you'd ever thought it would be in the first place.
And Charly, I guess you've obviously got a lot of experience with that in terms of starting a charity, like, and, you know, finding budget and just asking people for favors and things like that. How did you kind of start? How did you find that process?
I mean, exciting and terrifying. I think I very much relate to the idea of, you know, the one step at the time. What can you do within your means? When we set the charity up, it was very much responding to a need rather than, you know, intending to set up an organisation, and recognising that brilliant young women would benefit so much from the time and support of professional women in different sectors, both in terms of the support and committing to sort of to guide them through whatever they were going through, and that sense of actually I'm worth something because somebody's choosing to invest in me, coupled with the role modelling. Actually, whatever it is as a young person you want to do, we want you to be able to see somebody like you that you can relate to being successful in that. And so really it was just, well, what can we do from the position we're in with the people that we know? How can we leverage those networks to support the girls better? And that's where it came from. And then I guess, you know, taking a step at a time and a step at a time, you suddenly realize, well, actually, you know, as much as we think about charity and everything being for free, you can't do anything for free. We've got to find some money to pay people to do the things we want to do. And I think it was very much a learning as you go, and talking to people, having conversations, sharing our ideas about what we wanted to try to do, and then sort of relying on their experience and their connections. I think also it helps to be really passionate about what you're doing. It helps to really care about it, because I think other people then buy into that passion and buy into that vision and want to help too. I have rarely, if ever, come across somebody that doesn't want to help. And they might not end up helping the way you expect or the way you thought you needed at the time. But that often leads to unexpected, but at least as if not more fruitful outcomes. So yeah, I think, I'm not going to say fundraising for a charity is easy. It's not at all, and there's never enough, and we're always stretched in resource, and that is at the moment, I think, the nature of it, and also reflects the fact that we're really ambitious and we want to do more because there is a big need there. But there are so many people that buy into what we're trying to do and are incredibly generous with their time or their money or resource in other ways that it enables us to do that. So that sort of answers your question.
Yeah, you definitely did. Samantha, getting into being a lawyer, have you always wanted to do it?
I haven't, no, because when I first joined the network, I didn't actually know what I actually wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to do something that would be like mind stimulating. So I sat down with my mentor, and she asked me like what were my skills and like what I enjoyed doing. And she said, have you considered a legal route? And I said no. And she said, well, let's do some work experience. So that was what I did. I straight away was able to experience the legal world, and I was like, you know what, this is actually for me. So I just like mapped my route and just saw like the next steps I could take to get to law school. And definitely like reflecting off what Lainey said, like the true reality of the working world and going out there, because obviously now I've finished law school, and I actually thought it would be like kind of a bed of roses, but I've obviously been finished law school during the pandemic, and it's really tough. You kind of feel like you go down one avenue, and it might not be the road that you want to go down, but then you have to take like a plan B, and you don't always prepare for those sort of like quick changes in life. And like you said, like you can't just quit your full-time job. Like if you get offered something, you have to take it, but you still want to pursue your goal. So that's definitely the position I'm in now. And sometimes I'm like, I just think sometimes it makes or breaks you. You think about the times where you wanted to make your own films and like you wanted to do your own thing, but then you're like getting knocked back and you're like, oh, should I do it? But it's that strength that pulls you through, that makes you the strong character at the end of it, I feel. So no is the answer. I didn't actually want to do law when I joined the network, but after like sort of looking at my skills and trying it out, I thought actually this is for me, I suppose. And I was able to try it and actually did make the decision then, which I was really fortunate to be able to do. And then obviously have the backing of the network and my mentor sort of pointing me in the right direction, because, my mum and dad, they're not lawyers, so I would never have known, the steps to take, and there's a lot to know, and if you don't have someone guiding you, you actually don't know where to turn. I would not have known where to turn at all. I wouldn't even know what university I should have picked, like going down the legal route, like what is the best. You can look up things on the internet, and things are so easily accessible now, but you do need someone that you can actually sit down, talk your options through to you, and like explain the different avenues. And I think that's the best thing.
Totally. I think also it gives your mentor gives you a sense of perspective. I think both you and Lainey have sort of spoken about, coming out of uni and not necessarily having the work that you thought you prepared your whole life for, but to have that person that kind of makes you see the bigger picture, that makes you see maybe that time that you have been out of work or that time that you're waiting is a very small part of time in relation to the amount of time that you're going to spend doing the amazing thing that you want to do, keeping you positive, because we've all been there. Like I had no idea what I wanted to do for 4 years. I actually worked in the same shop as Lainey for a while in Camden. I know exactly how it feels, and now I look back on it and I'm like, I sort of can't believe I was in that position, but that is life. And luckily I had even though I'm the same, like I have parents that didn't do anything to do with what I do. My dad's my dad's disabled, wasn't working. My mother worked in the hospital, and but the thing that the thing that they were able to do for me was they were able to make me see the bigger picture and go, and they were like, oh, you've got all this time to do this. This is just a small amount of time. Keep your eyes on what you want to be doing, stay positive. It's not always going to be like that. This is also a kind of crazy situation we're in at the moment, which a lot of people are going to be feeling a bit like it's hit their self-esteem. But that's why we just all need to kind of be talking about it and stuff. And as long as we can all keep each other positive, that will raise our self-esteem, and then that will make us so much more capable to do better things. And also just use this time to kind of enrich your knowledge.
I feel so moved hearing you talk, Samantha, about...
Sorry, Lainey.
That's all right. No, I was just saying I feel so moved by hearing you talk, Samantha, like hearing how the network really impacted your life and how it's been really empowering for you. I just think it's really beautiful to hear because, back in my day, there, especially because it was... the internet wasn't so prolific when I was younger. It wasn't so easy to connect with people. And I think even like conversations like this, to be with, 5 other women and just talking about our experiences, it's just so empowering. And I think, you just can't underestimate how important it is. And I think if that had been in my life, I think things might have been a bit different as well. And I think that's why I think I just value the idea of mentoring so much, because often what can be quite small, like a conversation or an email connection or whatever, introduction or whatever, can have such a huge impact on someone else's life. And I think people don't always really get that. So I think this is great, really great to hear and see.
How did you first hear about them, Sam? Like, what made you first reach out?
Do you know? I think they approached our school. They had some sort of like a deal with our school, and we were put forward. Sort of, we were interviewed, I think, or we had to do some sort of letter, or there was some sort of application that we had to do. Like, say, 20 of us were selected, but there was only 13 spaces, or something along the lines of that. And it was obviously like the top 20 like academic students. And then I got selected, and we went to the London office and. We did like some speed dating activities, and to be honest with you, I wasn't really actually sure what we were actually doing there, if I'm totally honest with you. I just thought this will be cool. I never knew, like, looking back, I never knew it would take me up until this point, and I was like, this is just something cool. I'll do it with the school, right? You don't envision like how powerful it could be, right? And it's just really funny because when we did the speed dating activity, me and my mentor actually both chose each other, which at the time my friends just got people they were given, but actually me and Tammy really connected, and we only had 4 minutes to talk to each other about random stuff, but we actually ended up choosing each other. So when you talk about like sort of the foundations of your goals, and you connect with that person, and we just did, so it was just great. So that's where I met the network and how I got involved with them. But like I said, it was only a 6-week program. And some of my friends say, because at that time the charity wasn't as big as it was now. There wasn't as many mentors from different connections and different career paths as there is now. So my friends got their mentors, and they made the best out of the experience. But I just thought, I have to go on. We were still talking. And I just felt very, very lucky. Whereas my friends' mentors, sort of the program finished, and they got what they wanted out of the program. But we just carried on, I suppose. I don't really know. I can't even really pinpoint why that happened, but it just happened. And then, I just have stayed in contact with the network and would always help and support them no matter what, because, I just wouldn't be in the position I am today, if it wasn't for the network. Even just like my confidence and, being able to speak publicly and, all these things, I just wouldn't have been able to do. I went on holiday on my own once, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. I just think about these little, tiny little characteristics about myself, and I just think that just wouldn't have been me if I hadn't have met Girls Network.
That's amazing.
Charly, can I ask how it feels for you hearing? Obviously, you probably had this a lot, but how does it feel for you?
Amazing. I mean, it makes me want to cry. It's really humbling. It's really humbling because I know that we saw a need and did something about it, but the thing that makes the mentoring work are the mentors and the girls. And it's tribute to their hard work and passion and commitment to each other that we see so many amazing impact from those relationships. it's interesting hearing Sam talk about the early days, because we were learning as we went then, and I think something we've certainly learned since is about how do we talk to the girls about what mentoring is, because I think probably a lot of them were like, I mean, it sounds cool, but I don't know what we're going to do. So it's helpful, I think, and they've done brilliantly, all of them, but to be able to understand from the off exactly what they can get from it and why it's so exciting, I think is really useful. And so people like Sam talking to the girls about, look, here's what I got from it, here's why it's so exciting, can, I think, really help the girls from the beginning put more into it and get more out of it. So yeah, that's amazing. But I don't know, I frequently feel like I'm one of the luckiest people alive to be able to do this every day, because I'm just surrounded by amazing women and amazing girls who are constantly doing incredible things, and I just I've created my own sort of therapy, really. No, it's wonderful.
As a woman, what message do you want to share with other women around the world? What do they need to hear?
Oh, that is a big question.
It's a big one.
Shall I go first?
Please do.
I think I've been actually thinking about this a lot at the moment. It's kind of linked to sort of what I was sort of saying earlier. I think there's a lot of women who don't have the confidence, and confidence is what gives you everything that you need to succeed. And I think that you should always feel confident, whether you're at an entry level or whether you're applying for a job. You should, and even if you feel like you're underqualified, you should always feel that your experience, you're an expert in your own experience. And that in itself should give you the confidence that you need to succeed. And that's this thing that I always seem to come back to, especially as I see people coming into our industry, especially to what we were saying before about, voices of people who might not have been heard as much in the past, whether it's in film, people who are underrepresented. Those people are the experts of their own experience, and look how much they are bringing to our culture, to the media, to film at the moment. And I think that applies to absolutely anything that you do, because that is just the most valuable thing, and it infinitely enriches not just the culture of the company, but it also makes companies progress in whatever field that you're doing. So always see that you are the expert view of your own experience, and that should give you confidence to succeed. And always try and keep that confidence up. Try and kind of back any of the gremlins that tell you otherwise in your mind, because a lot of the time they are in your mind. But yeah, just like that. That's my one bit of advice, I think. It's probably not just a women only thing, but I feel like women, we do have a tendency to I don't want to mass generalize, but me as a woman, we're very sort of emotionally aware, and I sort of overthink about stuff and people's reactions to me and things like that, and I think it's a very, very important thing to always have in mind.
Can I add to that? Because I think it's a really interesting idea, the idea of confidence and belief in yourself. And I heard a brilliant woman the other day called Britta Ferdinandez Schmidt, I think, who's just written a book called Fears to Fierce. Quite hard to say. But she was talking about that idea, a lot of things about recognizing your fears and how you deal with them and how you sort of put them on the shoulder and look at what you really want and what you really need. And she talked about the idea of trust, like trusting yourself, and trusting that you are enough and you have enough to get where you want to go. And I thought that was a really powerful sort of slight flip on the idea of being sort of confident and having self-belief, is that trusting yourself. So yeah, that's really stayed with me, just sort of building on what you were saying, Tasha.
Totally, because the ultimate truth is your own you and your own experience. Like that in itself is something that no one can argue, how you feel and what your reactions are. So yeah, that's it. That self-trust is something that you can't question that. No one can question that apart from you, and then you've lost your confidence. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I'm going to sort of piggyback off Tasha and Charly and go a little bit further, still kind of around the topic of confidence. I kind of feel like I completely agree with you both, but I kind of feel like sometimes, especially if you're entering a space, whether that's like the law space or the film space or whatever space, as much as you can walk in there with like your affirmations and your self-belief, it can sometimes just disintegrate. And I kind of feel like I want to say that I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are going to be able to say the right thing when your belief is down. And so my actual advice is more of a kind of stern but loving message of support the women around you. And I think if we all pay it forward and we all think of other people, it will kind of come back round when you need it. And I think we need to all take a role in actively looking at the people who are around us, the people that we know, the people that we don't know, the person that emails you asking for help, and can you think about, can you help that person?
Lainey, you made me feel so selfish. I'm all about me and my confidence, and you're like, what about the person next to you?
Mine's still totally selfish. I'm like, eventually it'll come back round to me and then they'll help me too. But I just think we need to, like we're saying, I think we don't always have what it takes, and at that point you need someone else to really believe in you, to convince you that you can do it. And I think,
I guess that's why the mentoring helps as well, for sure. Yeah,
and I guess also knowing it's okay to acknowledge when you are struggling or you found something hard, so that people around can.
And that's normal as well. Like realizing that struggling is normal. But to what Lainey was saying, I sort of feel like, it's confidence, like recognizing the value in yourself, and also taking the time and really recognizing the value of the people next to you and what their experience is of life, of they're just human experience.
100%. What I'm going to say is really, actually, really funny. I don't know if this is just fate or whatever, but Lainey, just going on what you said, I've got like a sort of a collection of quotes I've got on my phone. So I was going to read a quote out. I'm taking a quote, and that's from Serena Williams, and it says, "The success of every woman should be the inspiration to others. We should raise each other up. Make sure you're very courageous. Be strong, extremely kind, and above all, be humble." So that was like my end note, and it's really weird that you said about that. So,
that's really, really great.
That's a brilliant quote.
So good.
It's okay, guys.
Thank you, Samantha.
I'm just like cooing in the corner.
Well, thank you all so much for being on this podcast. It was so lovely meeting you and talking to you all about your experiences, and hopefully we can meet up one day and actually have a cup of coffee or something.
Definitely, absolutely.
We're also going to play Black and 16 at the end of this episode, so keep listening.
And yes, have a lovely day.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Lovely to meet you.
Brilliant. Loved it.
Bye.
Thank you. Keep up the great work, everyone. Bye.
Being black in 16, I realised I have to work twice as hard as my non-black friends to level them in the classroom. The recognition is never any more but less. The blood, sweat and tears drawn from those sleepless nights will never be recognised. Being black in 16, a pawn placed on a board unable to retreat. Being blocked before my capture, and sadly, there is no legitimacy. Putting my hand up at 8, but you favoured my white classmates. Complaining when I get home. Always comforted with kind words while being prepared for tomorrow's fight.
You can relax, you can breathe. You're at home.
Being black in 16 is always speaking out and having my words censored and expressions concealed. Without a video phone or witness, the odds will never be in my favour. I do what I can, when I can, whilst I still can for myself, my family, and my community. Being black in 16 is having to switch when the setting does. You see a gang, I see an unbreakable bond of young kings and queens meeting up after a long, stressful week. We will always be loud in our laughter but remain silent in our suffering. is concerned for my future, recognizing and telling me I have to always be unapologetically black. There will always be questions beginning with why. Why is she not at home? Why haven't her parents taught her correctly? Why is she walking street? She must be in an uncomfortable environment to be there instead of wrapped up in a warm, cozy bedsheet. Being black and 16 is acknowledging I've made many angry, uncomfortable, and hostile at the thought of my success. I'm okay that a lot of you aren't ready to sit, to have this type of conversation with me yet. That's okay. It's okay, that's fine. I have a rock for my dad and a pillow of comfort in my home. Being black and 16 is realizing I have to stop living for others. When I win, we win. When I lose, I had to take that heavy L on my own. Being black and 16 is knowing my seat at the table was not a given. It's knowing I must cut down the tree and carve the wood to make my own. Being black and 16 is remembering bright sunny days where friends called.
Would your pops let you come to my block? Oh, don't forget the dumplings, tell your mom she really slapped.
Never forget the long bike rides, forgetting we haven't eaten, legs turn into jelly. What a day. Being black and 16 is evolving from the straight, long hair and lighter complexion phase, in front of the mirror for hours and days. Learning which products hug my hair to embrace my curls and coils, to love my melanin for what it really is. The skin I fit in. Being black and 16, what a ride. I'll miss you, but I'll always remember you fondly, with a sigh and a smile. I love being black and 16. Never forget being black and 16.